Hello, welcome to the SDA Academy. Here's Lucas speaking. In this series, we're going to outline the 14-day trial experience guiding you through our platform, so you're going to get the most out of it. In this first lesson, we are introducing our trial plan and the main components that build up our product. If you're into the automation industry and you don't know us yet, I'm sure you're going to be surprised by the content of this video. So first, before we start, what is software-defined automation? For us, engineers are still in the core of manufacturing, but they depend on software. That leads to technical challenges in the automation industry. We've seen missing use of innovative methodologies for deploying updates that are common practice in IT, like DevOps in software engineering, which is my area, by the way. There's limited remote access due to security concerns and legacy protocols like static VPNs. And one of the most limiting issues, the lack of cross-vendor compatibility and open standards, which results in a rigid combination of hardware and software. Software-defined automation is the innovative platform that manages and automates project update deployments. We offer a secure cloud-based connectivity with minimal IT setup. With us, there's no dependency on vendor-specific requirements. We are a vendor-agnostic management platform offering code versioning for PLCs. By automating industrial software development, we leverage the workflow of engineers by saving time and reducing complexity. And this is industrial DevOps. Simplifying PLC and project management, deployment, increasing factory uptime and efficiency. We offer a full-fledged web platform for managing industrial controllers and projects. We comply with secure software development by controlling who has access to what. With us, no information is lost. We version every project update. Plus, we can automatically back up your PLCs based on a scheduled routine. In software-defined automation, you're also going to find a place for the usage of artificial intelligence in the automation industry. By versioning projects, we can break them down into components and automatically generate documentation and explanation for everyone who's working in them. If you're curious to see all of that in action, watch this video until the end and subscribe to our channel to keep up to date with our newest features. In this video, I'm going to cover the basics of how to get started with software-defined automation's platform. First, we're seeing how to start a 40-day trial and how to access the SDA web console. Then, we're covering the main industrial assets that are managed by our platform. These are connectivity gateways that are part of secure remote access, controls on PLCs, which are essentially the same, how to create, version, and visualize projects in the web browser. After that, I'm introducing the overall user management interface, and that's how to onboard new users and how to set different permissions at user or device level. First topic, let's see how we can start a 14-day trial. Our website is softwaredefinedautomation.io. Here you're going to find a shiny Start Free Trial button to get on board. Here's the sign up page with the information that we need. Fill it out and click Submit. A confirmation code will be sent to your email address. Make sure to look up in the spam folder in case you don't see it. Now you're going to be forwarded to your login page. If you wonder how to access it, go back to the main page and click on Login. Once you access the SDA console, go ahead and type your credentials. On my screen, we're now looking at one of the first things that make our platform flexible. When you sign up with your user email, you're going to be able to use the same account for different tenants. When we create an account, remember that we were asked to put the name of our company, which is Software Defined Automation. In fact, this company is going to represent a tenant, in which our user account is the administrator. Other tenants can invite your user to be part of their company space as well, which is the case when I see that I have access to my colleague's Q4 Industries. The tenant Q4 Industries has another account administrator, and that's my colleague, who gave me access to his account to record the demonstration videos. Tenants mainly represent one manufacturer or one manufacturing line. Each of them is going to declare a set of industrial assets that they want to manage throughout the SDA's platform. For each device, tenants might define access permissions for users like me. Imagine there's a manufacturing line that needs you to program one of their PLCs. They can invite you to be part of their tenants and provide only the necessary access permissions. This flexibility is a game changer for everyone, for you and for tenants. Onboarding engineers is now a super easy task, requiring no provision of physical hardware, neither licenses or VPNs. We handle everything. Let me go back and join my colleague's Q4 Industries. This is a fresh account with a couple of devices, exactly like you're going to see in your account when you're on board. With time, we may add new stuff here to improve your experience as a fresh user. These devices you're seeing are dummy devices and do not represent any physical asset, so you can mess up with them with no problem. Let's go through the asset types that we manage, and let's start with gateways. Gateways are the first devices you see in the left tree. They have these child devices for a reason. They route connections from our cloud down to the control layer. These connections are dynamically created and destroyed on every usage. Let's look into more details of how gateways work. The goal of SDA is to run industrial applications for you so that you can easily access them in our cloud from a web browser. Still, these applications need to be addressed to the target edge devices somehow through the internet. Instead of requiring static VPNs to our cloud, we use gateways. Gateways have internal private access to resources like PLCs. They are secure network devices placed behind a very restricted firewall. We allow these gateways to talk to some of our endpoints using secure transport methods. They are constantly listening to messages. However, there is no virtual network at the moment. When the user needs to access a PLC, for example, when deploying a project, he delegates it to our cloud. We then tell the gateway to establish a temporary secure link between that single PLC and our cloud. So we know that there's no network access directly from the user. Also, the link is restricted to a single PLC and not to the entire industrial network. The user can interact with the PLC through the applications that we are running for him, like connecting the programming IDE to the PLC itself. After the application session is finished, the link is destroyed. In a few words, the role of gateways is to establish a temporary tunnel between industrial assets and the SDA servers, providing isolated network access to applications. To make it possible, the tenant or user needs to declare these devices under the parent gateway in the console. When a gateway is healthy and online, it means they are connected to our message broker and they are listening to eventual network requests coming from end applications. That could be an IDE like TIA Portal or Rockwell Studio 5000. Here, our gateways are all offline because, as I mentioned, these are only dummy devices, so there's no real gateway being connected here. The gateway to SDA Cloud Diagnostic tells us if they can reach our servers running in our cloud. This usually tests if our forward rules are set accordingly. Also, gateways tell us if they can reach the control devices by their IP address. That's the gateway to PLC Diagnostic. It's very easy to set up a gateway. Once you declare one, you get a command line to run in the device that you want to be the gateway. The command will make sure the operating system matches our requirements, and it will install the latest version of the connectivity agent in it. After that, when we run the connectivity diagnostic tests, you're going to see them all showing a green check, meaning our gateway was successfully configured. However, coming back to the topic of firewall rules, it is our job to make sure your network is fulfilling the requirements that you find in our documentation page. We require only TCP/HTTPS outbound rules to our servers, besides when running in UDP mode, of course. So if your network is very restricted, make sure to add these rules to your firewall. If you have trouble when setting up your gateway, or you'd like to know more about them, make sure to dig into our documentation. Next, one of the most important players in manufacturing, controls. These are devices targeted by gateways, and the most classic examples are PLCs and HMIs. Because these devices are vendor specific, we need to provide a whole infrastructure to support each of them. And so we did. Here's a list of all supported vendors we integrate with. We've been expanding our full loop capabilities to all of these vendors, making sure that we become the most vendor agnostic platform as possible. For you, this means that you don't have to waste time on installing tons of different softwares in your computer to be able to work in a diverse environment with multiple stacks. Again, we run everything for you. When onboarding a new PLC in our platform, you need to select one gateway that has a network route to it. Here, for example, we assume that the final assembly gateway has a route to the Conveyor PLC from Rockwell. When adding another PLC, you need to select the appropriate vendor of this PLC. Then, you're going to have to input the PLC credentials, if any, because this way, you don't have to share its credentials with all of your engineers. We're going to store them for you, facilitating everyone's job. And the next step is to provide the network details of this PLC, so you can reach it in an isolated connection using our gateway. Each vendor will likely have a standardized application port for the IDE. Like in this case for Siemens, the port is usually 102. However, your project configuration might change this, so be attention. Here in the middle is one of SDA's most powerful features. That's code backup. Yes, we can periodically back up your stuff, keeping you protected from unforeseen changes in your production environment. Of course, this process requires connectivity, so make sure that you have the green check up here when backing up. Not only that, you're also going to need to do a one-time upload of the project running in this PLC so that the IDE can refer to it. Let's talk more about projects and how they're automatically integrated with PLCs in our platform. If you click here to expand the left tree, we have a section only for managing projects. These are all of the demo ones that we provide for every new Try account. We see that each of them contains 3 main functionalities and 1 linked device. Versioning is the engine of our platform. Each project version comes from a unique source. The first one is always going to be a manual upload, making it possible to access and change it in an IDE browser session or retrieving the current running version in the PLC. You can select 1 version to view it or 2 versions to compare them in our full integrated web project viewer. So with us, there is no need at all to have a full IDE installed to only visualize project and changes. Check it out yourself. When going back to controls, we also see that the platform can even deploy a project version to the PLC. This totally runs in our backend. The user only needs to click here. Of course, you can also select another version from the version history to be deployed to the PLC. Deployment, the project viewer, as well as IDE as a service, they're all going to be covered in the following videos of this playlist. Our next topic relates to users and their permissions to access and/or to change the assets that we have covered so far. I'm going to show how we can add users to our tenant and what kind of permissions we can individually define. Let's jump back a bit to our representation of users and tenants. As we've seen, a tenant is like an entity aggregated by users. You see, our tenant is Qfoy Industries. Leo Qfoy is its owner and consequently an administrator. Leo added me, Lucas, to his tenant as one of the admins, so I could then invite Jason to work with us, but as a user. Because Jason is not going to work with all of our projects, we can set only the necessary permissions for him. Permission management can be done based on users or based on assets. For instance, if we want to reveal Jason's permissions, just like we did, we click to manage his permissions only. If we want to reveal the permission for each of our assets, we click up here on Manage Permissions. You see, these are all of the users that can access our devices, and we can edit each one individually. We can also change the resource type to projects and do exactly the same. This is pretty useful when working with externals, especially because permissions can have a scheduled access. We've now been through the main components that build up software-defined automation. We covered the challenges that our web platform solves and what benefits industrial DevOps is going to bring to manufacturing lines. I showed how you can access our website and start a 14-day trial. We then saw the network connectivity role of a gateway, used to provide a dynamic, secure remote access to controls, and how to set it up. Speaking about controls, I showed how to onboard PLCs from different vendors with our platform. Then we checked projects and versions, how they are linked to controls, and how we can view different versions, deploy, and back them up totally just depending on a web browser. These 2 last topics were about inviting users to be part of our tenant and setting different roles and permissions based on which assets, that means which PLCs and which projects they can view and edit. Our next video is going to be a deep dive into PLC version control, our most loved feature. If you have any question, feel free to reach out to us or check our documentation on docs.softwaredefinedautomation.io. Thanks for watching.